It was Jennifer's idea to have them sort of strung up like a fishing competition. We just used liters and liters of dark arts, it's called, dark arts blood.
This place is so beautiful, it makes me want to die.
Hi, I'm Adam Johansen. I'm one of the directors of the Sydney special effects and creature effects company, Odd Studio, and we're about to go behind the scenes on I Know What You Did Last Summer. Initially, I spoke to Jennifer Caden Robinson, and we had actually worked together before on Thor, Love and Thunder. She was writing on that. That's when we first met. And so we reconnected on I Know What You Did Last Summer. And my initial chats with her were just trying to find what kind of horror film she had in mind, how far we wanted to go with the deaths, like the vision Jennifer had for how graphic she wanted to be with these kills. Once we sort of established the level she was at, we could then start designing how some of these kills would look. I think straight off the bat, there were some really unique and fun things in here. The Wyatt one, first one we see there with the spear gun. We did a bunch of things in-house at Odd Studio here, just sort of testing how that could work and how far, again, we wanted to push it. Do we want to see things coming right up and through the mouth, or is it just a little bit more intense and morbid, just sort of propped up like that as a bit of a trophy? So we basically had a prosthetic appliance on the actor with a prop spear gun. So it was a nice little crossover between props and us. And special effects, actually, that whole scene with rigs coming through, Dan Oliver, special effects supervisor, and his team came up with some great rigs for that. And that sort of got it all kicked off. There are so many different kinds of blood, really, like depending on colors of blood, consistencies of blood, what you need for a particular kill or for particular scene. And so again, chatting to Jen, we had to find a color that, read really well. A lot of it was, really darkly lit. So something that kind of popped, but something that was very visual and striking. I used a company that we always use down in Melbourne, Nick Dorning, and his blood is great. I mean, you've got the runny blood, the dark blood, the bright blood, the arterial blood. Once we did a bunch of camera tests, every department basically agreed, and Jennifer saw the test, was like, this is the blood. So every single department, special effects used a ton of blood. Chad Atkinson was our sort of blood rig guru, and Phil Young. And we just used liters and liters of Nick Dorning's, dark arts, it's called, dark arts blood. They were my favorite. Oh man, yeah. When I read the script and again, talking to Jennifer, it was those two that really stood out. It's like, this is going to be something that has to be really memorable. And it was Jennifer's idea to have them sort of strung up like a fishing competition. You see these deep sea fishing, the fishermen come back to the wharf and they've strung up these kills, they've weighed them on the weighing station. And we thought that was just a brilliant premise for how to design the bodies. The actors were in LA in the States, so often won't see the actor until right before filming begins over here. So we've transitioned into a digital workflow, which means we get them scanned over in LA. So we get the full body scans. We kind of work out roughly what position we want. 3D Scan LA are great over there. And they did a whole bunch of really high res scans of both the actors. Once we had that, we took it into ZBrush and sculpted and posed them. And they became our concept art that we would pitch to Jennifer in the studio about how we think the bodies would look and position them, and the whole fish hook and the whole strung up. So once we established that, we went into, again, a digital workflow. So we went and printed out these bodies, molded these bodies. There was a mechie department that made the armatures, and the hair department, of course, Amy Vaughan, Alice Uraz, Charlotte Johansson, and Mario McClory is just like, they just smashed it out of the park. The level of finish on those and I think the position of the bodies and the way they're presented and the screen time they end up getting, I thought was really cool. And I think for our team, it was certainly one of the highlights and one of the joys of just being able to get kind of original, I think, on just how a couple of dead bodies can be sort of displayed in broad daylight. I will say that it'd be anywhere between, at a crush, sort of 6 weeks to sort of, 8 to 10 weeks. Things like the more skin on show, so if they're in full length sleeves, of course, we can get away with, not, art finishing every bit. There was a lot of beard stuff. There's a lot of stubble stuff, lots of hair work on this. So the 6 weeks became a real sort of crush. We had multiple teams working on multiple dummies to bring it all together. I think from the time the scan actually was done to when we were on set, it would have been about 7 weeks, I think. Again, in the script, when I read that, I was like, that's really brutal. That's amazing. That was the one kill, well, I suppose, and also, Teddy and Grant, where it was like finding that level Jennifer was talking about, not going too crazy, but being really visual and striking. So we did a bunch of designs on how Judo may have cut out his own eyes, and just again, I think it's a really unique and just twisted way they discover the body. Just started with some scans and some designs, some 2D designs, and just positioning the body in a few different ways, building armatures, and just trying to create something, again, really unique. And the way I think that was shot, the reveal of that, with the lighting of the stained glass, I think that looked fantastic. I think the fun bit for designing these kills and these bodies with Jennifer was using the environment, like very much using where they were as part of their demise. So the fish hook, obviously, the fishing on the dock, in church, stained glass window, praying. It's all pretty fun stuff. I think there is a balance there. And for us, here at Odd Studio, I think you could almost push the surrealness and the extremeness in the positioning of the bodies and the way they're displayed. Now, I think that's pretty extreme in both cases. It's pretty kind of, wow, okay, that's out there. Where you could bring it back to reality and back to the realism is in the finishing. Even though he's they're strung up with a fishing hook and the camera comes right up and under. If the level of finish isn't 100% real, then you kind of lose that audience. So the horror of it, it could be like there's a twisted body posing up, hung up like that. And as the camera pushes in, you can see every hair, you can see the bloodshot eyes, you can see every pore detail. So I think that's the balance. You can be kind of, original and unique and really push the design in terms of how the bodies are presented. But the finishing brings you back into the reality of this is that character dead. When you're watching that film, it's a little roller coaster of deaths. That's sort of like, oh shit, here we go. Okay, again, we did have a bunch of ideas for that. Gabriette, for instance, we did a whole bunch of sort of in-house tests for the choking, ligature marks, and, pushing looks. With Milo, it ended up being, again, I think it was a great call from Jennifer. The pacing really ramps up to those Teddy bodies, Teddy and Grant bodies, but it ended up being, what if we just see the hand come out? So there's no mistaking the demise of Milo. But I think it was just, again, subtly sort of approached. And I kind of like that. It's not always the big dead, the big extreme, full screen shots of a hanging dead body that can have the impact. So Marielle McClory, she did great makeup. That was makeup only on his hand to really sell that. This film had it all for us. Makeup, straight makeup, through to dummies, through to working makeup effect gags and blood rigs. It really was the full gambit for us.
We're not gonna die today.
Adam, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure meeting you and talking about all the behind the scenes stuff and creating these deaths. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for asking me.